So you know you need this mindset, this certain aspects of this. You need to be tough. You need to be physically and mentally tough.
Because like listening to you, to me, what you're saying, the implication of what you're saying could indicate to me the ultimate opt-out clause. Well, I was not abused as a child. I don't have this genetic component, so why bother? I think I'll just go play tennis.
No, and that's basically what my research has been about, is both trying to understand that, to refine it, to get a hold of this animal and ride it, so that you can switch it on and switch it off and give it direction, but also so that you can actually identify the components which need to be addressed in a realistic way that will highlight them, and it will bring them out. Will actually, is it highlight? Would that be the word? Within
facilitate
the training.
them.
Facilitate them in the training.
Can I just? I don't want to lose it. But there was one point that you made before, and I don't know if we caught it on camera, about the Sanshin, the extreme tension, and being able to switch on and switch off. And I wondered if you could just reiterate that.
Well, that was in the case of effort. But there's many levels at which you would practice that. But one level was to produce this extreme intention, actual tension. But specifically at points of which are actually moving the joints. You know, it's where the insertion of the tendon goes in, the juncture of the tendon going into the muscle. So you're actually strengthening the interconnectiveness of the body, as well as where the interconnections take place. You know, that's basically, if you like, moment arms. You know, you're strengthening the point of the torque, where it's perpendicular to the muscle. You know, all starting positions are really like starting in these kind of optimal positions, and all you're doing is
optimal range of
up, down, forward, back, left, and right. You're strengthening.
Right.
But that's very complex. But where it was the switch on process within the training is how you do that. Is that you do if you do high intensity interval training.
1 second, I just want to make so much noise in there.
If you do high intensity interval training, short duration.
Yeah.
Then you actually, by say punch outs on the bag, you can actually aggressively and violently, with a purpose, with an intent, not just to hit the bag as a bag exercise, but to hit the bag as if it was a man.
And that's why in the other film you had them standing on
opposite each other, banging away at the bag, and doing that in bursts of 10, 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
That process alone will, if you're not aggressive, will produce aggression. And that was another thing which you said, the Morris psychosis, where people pick up this aggressive, but only for that moment. Every other moment is like chilled out. It's just for that moment when I'm demonstrating all this energy, you'll pick it up in the same way that part of that process of studying personality types, I also, one way in, as a guarantee if you like, where you're not actually misinterpreting what you're seeing, is to watch animals. In that the animals, it's pretty obvious that if it's a predatory animal, that you're not seeing a show here, you're seeing the real thing.
For real, yeah.
And so if you can empathize with the animal, in the sense of not just putting on his skin, which is part of the process of imitation of the animal to get in there.
Yeah.
But if you can actually understand the arousal mechanisms, if you can actually say the drives and the arousal that underlie the ferocity of his movement, as well as the movement itself, which is uninhibited and natural, and if you like, the modification of its reflex behavioral patterns, then you can start to get a handle on how you should be moving or responding to a situation, rather than in a controlled, contrived way.
Right.
And so it's that, I suppose, that's the main body of my research, was to do that, to get a hold of. So, you know, the way I was going, if I'd have continued to go that way, fighting on the streets, doing what I did, I would have been inside.
Yeah.
But if I'd have gone the other way, the karate way, if I'd have gone that way, and actually try to sublimate this thing to this so-called noble goal, this nobler goal. These are,
speaking of nobler goals.
But you know, towards some more nobler goal, or whatever it is, I would have been diverted and using that energy in another direction to perfect a kata or perfect something or whatever. You know, it wasn't being directed to what I needed to direct it, and that was for fighting. And so I needed to understand what this primal drive was, in the sense of what did it feel like, what was the energy arising out of that, and give it direction through this mindset, which some people call a hunter mindset. You know, it's this this predatory mindset, which panics, stalks, pounces, ambushes, that kind of mindset, into physical actions which have evolved and which children use.
I was thinking that when you said before.
Which is what Sean, he's doing sprawls and he's strengthening his core, which children use to actually strengthen their body as well as experiment with their bodies. There's an inherent pattern there. And what are these inherent patterns? And those are things which I also study. And having this, trying to get this, if you want to get in touch with yourself, then get in touch with who you really are, and get some handle on that rather than this thing you want to be. Rather this other thing, becoming your master or what the hell. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. You're looking to empathize with something which you actually in fact are, rather than something you're actually not. And that was, I suppose that was when, how do you do that? How do you do that in training? And that was why we said about the example that you can't rely on this process. You can't rely on it. You have to train it.
Yeah, you can't hope it's going to be there in the heat of battle. And
you're going to make an 8-foot jump over a fence or what the hell. You've got to actually identify the situation you're going to be in and recreate the situation, which will then, realistically, which will then produce the mindset and all those other factors, provided you've got somebody like me to put the input in to give you that direction, to create the situations which are going to call for a needed response, but also facilitate the structure so that it can respond in a natural way. It's very too easy to say, I'll create a situation that calls for a needed response, but the structure sometimes has been trained to respond in the wrong way.
Yeah, tell me about it.
To that situation. So you end up, yes, you do end up responding to the situation, but physically in the wrong way.
Well, I mean, I can really remember from the early days in Horsham during the Taudi Kempo time and that, when you would give us drill and it would turn into this kind of stupid play thing amongst the karate people, myself included, and the movements are all, you don't know how to move because you've been misinstructed, and unless you're a natural athlete, that you can hang on to that.
I suppose that's what natural athlete means, really. When you look at the good professionals, they're athletes who come through as children. They've taken these patterns to what they need. As you throw a kid a ball, you don't tell Johnny where he's going to catch the ball, when he's going to catch the ball. All he's got to know is he's going to catch the ball, or hit the ball, or evade the ball, or throw the ball back. And you don't involve him in the instruction. And that's where it's wrong with kids, is that you're actually involving kids in an instructional process of telling them how to move. And so you're taking away any natural process which would have been there otherwise.
Yeah, and the natural process is so much better.
And that's why you see that that there is a distinct way of movement. If you're just looking at movement, take away the gi, take away the pants, take away the football gear, take away the rugby gear, and watch the movement. And you'll see a distinct difference between the way athletes move in other sports and the way karate people move, for example.
Well, all you have to do is watch that movie where Tom Selleck goes to play baseball in Japan.
Yeah.
And it's this very stylized.
It's more important how you cross the line than if you cross it.
And who crosses it first? We kind of got off the subject there, but.
But it's by identifying those things and essentially not by doing that. And then translating that into your training, so that you're recreating, if you like, those conditions which will produce this mindset, these patterns, and training methods which will encourage those like what I call fundamental skills.
Yeah.
As a fundamental skill, just so we get a little digression, a fundamental skill is this basic underlying pattern of all movement, which if you learn this range of fundamental skills, then it means that somewhere within that fundamental skill, the adaptation, if you like, the foundation of all movement, is a solution, rather than learning thousands of moves.
Yeah.
It's not that you only have to learn the fundamental moves, but if you've got those fundamental moves as your basis, and they're not basics, as people say, they're actually what this kid's going to do, what they're doing, in a sense.
I don't know.